I'm Chris.
This is Eric.
This is the Proofs of the Whiskey podcast.
What's up, fuckers?
We are recording episode 7. So thank you so much for tuning in week by week. Remember,
Yes.
new audio episodes are coming to you every Wednesday.
Wednesday.
All right, man.
Yeah.
So episode 7, we have a good amount of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, man. We finally had somebody.
Thanks to
yeah.
not anonymous, right?
No. It's just my sister Jamie.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout
Wanted
out.
to have some questions answered.
She had asked me if it was okay to post questions on the Facebook page. I said, abso-fucking-lutely. That's what we want. And give us some good content, dialogue, so on and so forth. Again, it's going to be much better to have her on here sometime so that we can go back and forth with differing opinions, beliefs, thoughts, so on and so forth.
So on and so forth.
But this is definitely, like you said, it's going to be a lot to talk about. It's definitely going to be a dive into it. So we'll pour.
Pour.
Yeah, man.
You got to uncork that bad boy.
Elijah Craig.
Elijah Craig is
Elijah Craig.
Oh, Craig.
Great pop.
The Proof is in the Whiskey podcast. The Proof.
And
Clinkies.
Clinkies.
Cheers, my friend.
Cheers.
Anyway, so
Anyways.
you want to just dive into it? You want to dive into the questions posed?
Absolutely.
Or asked, or-
So, once again, everybody, this is Chris.
This is Eric.
This is going to be a new segment. As many times as we get questions, this segment will reappear. But this is the Proofs in the Whiskey, your questions.
So first question was, and all these, there's 6 of them. The last one is just kind of fun, but
All right.
there are 6 questions, all from Jamie, my sister. The first one is, do you think that the U.S. has lost more than it has gained or gained more than it has lost from increased trade with other countries? I read again. Do you think that the U.S. has lost more than it has gained or gained more than it has lost from increased trade with other countries?
So right off, I did do a little bit of research, but I'm going to give you my off-the-cuff opinion right
Sure.
off the gate. The U.S. has definitely lost more than it has gained for trades.
Why do you think that is?
In two areas it could be argued, right? So one, culture, trade, TV, movies, food, everything like that. I think the U.S. has won. But when we're talking about consumer goods, the stuff that we are importing, we have a huge trade deficit.
Okay. So, my immediate response and thought to that is, you constantly hear through over the majority of over the decades, if
Yeah.
you want to say it that way, that excuse me, hold on. Changing of the seasons, man, I get all clogged up.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
Hot, cold.
We just apologize to the audio listeners who
Yeah,
just got an earful of you
Yeah.
coughing.
A lot of that phlegm. For those of you, you know, why people probably hate the word phlegm. Phlegm.
Like moist.
Oh my god, dude! Wow, totally derailed. But like, my brother-in-law hates the word moist.
Really?
Like, he cringes and makes that face like you're gonna throw up
So
in your
them
mouth.
listening
He'll
to
be
this
like,
podcast and us going moist.
if he were to actually listen, I don't think he
Moist.
doesn't know that we're doing one, but
Moist.
man, yeah, he hates the word. I know a lot of people hate that word, moist.
Our video, our listens just tanked. This is the end.
they
Like, I'm not listening to those fuckers again.
When you show me the stats on listeners, it was here, and then now just due to the word moist being used too many times. So anyway, yeah, no. With the question as far as, I think as far as if we've lost more than we've gained, if you look at it from maybe like manufacturing. So that's the first thing I think of. Like, so many manufacturing jobs have been lost to going overseas, Mexico, China, obviously a huge one. But then you see all the other ones like Taiwan, Indonesia, wherever it's cheaper to produce, whether it be the materials or like a lot of, obviously, clothing is a huge industry that's done overseas. Just parts in general. I mean, you look at the current supply chain issues in our industry, and I know we refer to that a lot, but that is a constant and ongoing issue with its supply chain. Well, why is there such a delay? Supply chain. Like, holy shit, man. Like, if we did more resourcing in our own country, I do believe we would be, one, saving a lot of money and creating a lot more jobs. So they always talk about unemployment.
Yeah.
Stop fucking making jobs, sending everything overseas or to wherever it is, overseas, south, north, outside of the country. So, whether it be just complete shutdowns of manufacturing jobs or downsizing or whatever, it's just crazy to me, and how you could think that we've gained more than we've lost versus lost more than we gained, just on that simple fact. So obviously there's multiple facets of what you could talk about, economics, or just right down to the individual person and how they're affected, families, things like that. So again, when you talk about the amount of manufacturing jobs that have been lost to the less expensive option in a different area of the world, how much has that affected the U.S. economy or families in our country? So, and then the other thing too with like fuel, right? That's a huge issue. Like everybody, we have a huge base that wants to be energy dependent or independent, but we're very dependent on other countries, and that just creates a whole other fucking issue. There's been wars over that shit. So, I think I for one think that we've lost more than we've gained.
Yeah. So I'm going to touch on one of the things that you said there. You said, for at least, gas and oil and stuff like that, previous administration, agree, disagree, however you feel on that statement. That was the first time that we were solely independent when it came to that. We weren't buying oil from the Middle East and importing it here, importing it there, and everything like that. What we currently are. I just seen on the news with Ian. What's Ian? What was the hurricane? Ian. God, I feel terrible.
You just fucked that up. Ivan.
Yeah. Anyways, with Ian, the National Petroleum reserve that we have is at its lowest that it's ever been. I think I forget exactly the time span that it's been, but it is at its lowest that it's been in a very long time. Then we have the hurricane that hits Florida, and all the fuel that was just sitting in gas stations and everything like that is no good, blown away and all that stuff. So we have to send petroleum there, which is depleting our own reserve of that. So we're relying on other countries again to export or import that to us. And that alone is a scary thing, because what if there was a bigger disaster? You know what I mean? Like, we can't be self-sufficient when we're importing so much goods. And I mean, for example, fertilizer. And I know you brought up corn is a big thing too. I mean, yes, we have a ton of corn here. We're exporting corn all the way out. But the other resources that we're importing, if we just put a stop to that and we didn't rely on other nations, I think we would still be good, but our trade deficit, where we're at as a nation, is far lower than what it should be. We should be a superpower. We shouldn't be relying on that. I mean, our national debt is trillions of dollars, and it's owed to China. We're borrowing money from China. We're losing. Yeah. That's my opinion on that. So let's jump into question number 2, and we can dive deeper into that if you'd like. Just let us know.
So number 2 was, do you think that religion should be kept separate from government policies or that government policies should support religious values and beliefs?
That is a damn good question.
So,
I want to hear your opinion on this.
yeah,
one
so
first.
my immediate opinion would be that keep religion out of it. So, out of government policies.
Okay.
So, the question again was, do you think that religion should be kept separate from government policies, or that government policies should support religious values and beliefs? So I'm going to touch on something as far as like something that can relate to that question real quick. So something that we talked a lot about in the last few episodes back or whatever with abortion, right? So a big stance against abortion is Christian Catholic beliefs or whatever. So my thought with keeping religion out of government policies is I believe they should. So the reason for that in my thinking behind that is because government policies should be put in place for the common good. Correct?
So couldn't you argue that the common good would be more the moral Christian values?
No,
because
we're in such a diverse country with so many different religions and beliefs and faiths.
Yeah, but
that
the core
how
of
could
many
you
religions
no,
is
but the common good for all Christians is not the common good for Muslims or
I disagree with
how
that.
would it not if you're incorporating if you're so let me read that again.
I'm following. I'm listening here, but I'm disagreeing with you.
So should it be kept from separate from government policies, or that government policies should support religious values and beliefs?
I feel like it should be supporting religious values and beliefs for every religious value and belief that is out there. I believe that in God we trust built this nation, that the values of the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not murder, right? Those wholesome values, honor your mother and father.
But do you think
all
government
those
policies
things.
should they, when they're creating policies, should they be considering religious values?
I think it's
I
think it's inevitable because everybody has their own beliefs.
Exactly. So how can you create a policy if you're like, well, we're going to create this policy, but what are the Christians going to think, or what are the Roman Catholics going to think? What are the Muslims going to, how's it going to affect them? Not what they think, but how's it going to affect them? How do you do that?
Well,
while you're creating a policy,
the same way that you have to take into consideration that you're making a policy that is going to affect all of those people. If you're making a policy that is there to help out people, you should take into consideration who those people are that you're helping.
So
you should have your
own the reason why
built-in moral compass.
But
and that built-in moral compass for myself is Christian values. So I believe that should be the moral compass surrounding everything.
But the reason why I brought up abortion is because by the end of that conversation, we had both, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I got to the point where I was like, you know what? Even though I believe in God and things like, faith and as a Christian, whatever, I still think it comes down to being a free American. So you have that choice. And then it's not me or the government to judge, that or tell you that the abortion is illegal or make it illegal. So if you're talking about faith, it's written right in the Bible that we are not to judge and that it's God's job. So if you want to have an abortion, then you will be judged when you die. That's when you'll be judged for that. So that's where it's like, so I can't, we say that, government policies supporting religious beliefs or vice versa, the people that are against abortion, it's because a lot of it's because, well, it's against my faith, but that shouldn't.
All right. So I'm sorry to not interrupt you here, but I'm trying to get to the point here. So one, your thing is, well, the government shouldn't just have that. I agree. The government shouldn't be making these overarching rules like that. You're a free American. You should have the right to do so. Going into the part about abortions and religions and everything like that, God gave us dominion over the earth. Is that right?
Free will.
God gave us dominion over the earth.
Okay.
We can create, we can do right, and gave us knowledge. So over our years and years and years and years and years and years being on this planet, we've learned how to cure illnesses. We've learned how to save lives. We've learned how to resuscitate the dead. Short period, not long period. Right?
If the body's still warm.
Right? God has given us the ability with the knowledge that has progressed us all the way to this point. So, giving us the knowledge and the capabilities, giving us dominion over the land, of being able to choose not to bring a life into this world. That is a choice. Yes, I see the different parts of gray areas and everything like that, but if you're going to bring up religion, go to the fact that God gave us dominion. He gave us the ability to do so. So religious folks out there, and I forget the exact religious faith, that are, well, I'm not going to get a blood transfusion because it's against my faith. I think that's fucking stupid, because God gave you the ability to get a blood transfusion to save your life. God gave you these brilliant people out here that invented the medicine to give you that. So that alone, those 2 points there for abortion, for government, I think those are vastly different, not necessarily based on religious values. For religious values and determining that, I feel like murder should be against the law. The government should enforce.
Yeah, but what does that have to do? I mean, that whether
because my belief of government. Well, I believe the government should be there to serve the people for the welfare of people that not necessarily like giant welfare states like LBJ or whatever, but I'm talking real what government should be. The ideal government should be. The government that we currently have, it doesn't really work for a lot of things, but and that goes into what we were talking about later on in the questions for the flat tax. Is the government shouldn't have this overarching thing over your free American wills. So going back, like I said, and touching into it, I believe that when they're making these policies and when they're doing that, regardless of the senator or mayor or any person in government, they have their own moral compass, and those decisions that they're making are to help out people. Now,
exactly, so they should keep their own religious belief out of it, because then they'd be biased. They need to come at it.
Everybody has their own bias.
I understand that, but when you're making policies for the greater and the common good in the country, the people that you represent,
mm-hmm.
you should be keeping your own, to a point, religious or faith beliefs out of the equation, or you should be. I want to say unbiased, but
mm-hmm.
to a point. Because like I said, you're making policies for the common good.
Right.
No matter which way they lean, no matter which way they believe or have faith, or even if they're atheists,
mm-hmm.
then that's why I say they're making policies for the common good.
Mm-hmm.
So...
And I believe that common good should have Christian moral values.
But what if I'm not a Christian?
Well, guess what? At heart, me being a Christian, you cannot be a Christian, but I'm still going to be doing the best that I can to help. That's what I believe.
We could keep going on and on and on,
yeah.
on about this.
So that was a great question. That was a great question.
All right, so I'm going to skip number 3 for now. It's the tax one, because I'm going to save that for the end.
Okay. Interesting.
Well, I'm going to get some of these other ones out of the way because they're a bit quicker.
So you feel like the tax one is going to go on a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, do I feel an
do.
Eric rant coming on?
It could be. Like I told you, on the way here, I was thinking about all the stuff I was going to want to talk about.
Yeah, you said you were chomping at the bit.
And I'm like biting my lip because I'm getting irritated at the shit I'm thinking about.
Man.
So number 4 was, do you think the U.S. prison system is effective?
Effective in what way? Would be my follow-up question.
Okay.
Because Do I believe that prison prevents crime? Not really.
Obviously not.
Obviously not.
Obviously not.
Do I believe that prison should be there to be a punishment? Yeah, I believe it should be a punishment. You should not want to go to jail.
Right.
Your actions have consequences. You should be going to jail.
Mm-hmm.
Do I believe that it's effective in reform? I was looking at a statistic, and prison systems that offer education, 70% of the participants that elect to do that and go through education, higher education, through the prison systems, 70% of them do not return to crime, do not return to prison. I think that's an effective way to do that. A lot of the prison is, I guess you could say the law is the thing that's really the most ineffective. The systemic problems that we have as a nation, treating people with mental health issues and everything like that as criminals, as opposed to giving them the help that they need. I feel like that's the biggest thing, because you have a ton of people in prison that are mentally fucked up. They fucked up doing something on a mental bender, and now they're in prison because they fucked up.
Right.
As opposed to getting them the treatment and the help they need and finding the underlying issue of why that person has that mental issue.
Yeah.
So, grandiose, no.
Grand scheme of things, you're saying no, it's not effective.
It is not effective, and
Okay.
I feel like it should be fixed.
Yeah. So
But I
prison,
don't
prison
know how
reform.
to fix it.
Well, no, and we're not going to, because we're just average people. So, okay. So my opinion would be that I agree that it's not 100. It's not as effective as it could be. Let's put it that way. So,
Okay.
it's effective in the sense that there are hardened people that get put in there forever that should never see the light of day. If you're a fucking pedophile, you murdered someone,
Oh yeah, hardcore pedophiles, murderers,
rapists,
die in prison. I'm fine with
So all those real heinous crimes, then absolutely effective as long as they stay there and don't get parole ever again, because those people should be locked away forever. So
it's the statistic for people incarcerated. 68% is for violence, violent crimes, like in that list. So pedophilia, violence against a minor,
yep,
and all that stuff. 68% of the prison population is that.
Mm-hmm.
Then you break down to 16% of drug related. And then I think there's another 16% for 16 or 15%. I can't remember the whole entire thing, but the two that stood out to me were those two there.
Okay.
And I think there was maybe 2-3% for like illegal weapons and stuff like that. But the biggest one that stood out to me was that 68%.
Yeah.
And going into what I was saying before is that it's not preventing any crime.
No, exactly, because
they're still
people
doing
are still
it.
doing
They're
all this
still
shit.
being there. But okay, so let me ask you this question, since I was thinking about it. Do you think that the prisons should be private?
Well, so
And
I mean, there are private prisons, right?
There's a ton of private prisons, and former Vice President Joe Biden, with his crime bill, was basically the incentivization, and his current proposal for crime reform is build more prisons. And that incentive is for, is to have privately owned prison. You know what I'm saying? So the incentive of keeping prisoners in and for as long as possible and filling the prison so they can keep getting that good old sweet money is super, super high. And I don't think that should be the case. If it's going to be, if you're committing a federal crime, right, is a state crime, is a government crime, is a crime. It's against the law. I feel like that should be better mandated for like there's a government building. You see what I'm saying?
So
As
so I'm surprised you'd be for that though, because that's all taxpayer funded.
Yeah. Once again, if there was a better prison system where more reform was put into place, where there was, once again, the fear of consequence of I don't want to go to prison. So if you end up in prison, you should be getting help through that system.
Yeah, so that's
that's what I'm saying.
Rehabilitation
programs and try to prevent it, because I forget the exact statistic. Since we had a little bit of technical difficulty here, I was on a roll. But the statistic for people returning to prison after they've committed a crime is high, because they're going right back out. Normally, they've committed a crime because they're broke or whatever, drug, whatever. They have no money, so they get booted out after spending that time in prison. Now they have something on their record, and the only thing that they can do is to commit another crime.
Yeah.
And then end up right back into prison. So the reform aspect of it, I think, is a bigger issue as opposed to the effectiveness. So once again, I don't find them effective. I find aspects of it effective.
Yeah, I would totally be for lesser or no sentences for nonviolent. We talked about this before. So like nonviolent drug offenses, having that just be a fine. Not going to jail for that. Just having someone go to jail just because they had something on them. If it's one thing to be, you pull someone over, an officer pulls someone over and it's trafficking, then go to jail. But if it's not, you just have a little bit, like South Carolina, even if you have a little bit of what they call like shake, I know you know what that is. So you get to. I wasn't saying it like that, you dumbass. I was saying like most people know what shake is. So it's like you literally at the bottom of your grinder, like if you have a grinder, it's what's left over. You can get arrested just for that. So that's the kind of stuff that I would say, like, cut that shit out.
Yeah,
who gives a fuck? And, like, he had a little bit of shake. Like, that doesn't. You don't need to go to jail for that. And then
I still stand by my
waste
statement
taxpayer
of
money.
like man-made or chemical-induced drugs. I feel like should still be illegal, but things like your pot. And
I'm not saying it shouldn't be legal. I'm saying that
I feel like that should have 90 days.
Even 90 days, dude. Like, you know how much money they probably spend in just 90 days on that one person? I don't know, but I know like the prison system as a whole, it's like billions and billions of dollars a year that are taxpayer funded in the prison system. So the amount of non-offensive drug charges that probably are being having taxes paying for that is probably not necessary. So again, nonviolent related.
Well, I want to touch on something real quick that you just said that kind of is going into another topic that we're going to talk about. So taxpayers are paying $2 billion, $3 billion, billions of dollars to the prisons, but we have total tax income for the government is $1 trillion. $1 billion here to prisons. And we've been doing it for years and years and years. That's not a burden on taxpayers, in my opinion, on that. So I see what you're saying, that we're spending all of this money, but if it was being effectively spent, if you were, and when I say 90 days, is to help them curb whatever addiction they have on that substance. True addictive substances that they go through.
At least to start, because it takes longer than 90 days.
Right. A 90-day, hey, you can't be on these drugs, and we're going to not necessarily lock you in the cell, but we're going to lock you in the cell. You can't have any of the drugs, but here's a psychiatrist, here's a doctor, here's these people that are, just like residencies. They go to hospital, they go to prison, and they try to help the addiction. So when they get back out on the streets, they're hopefully less likely to commit that again.
Contributing members of society.
And become contributing members of society. So the billions of dollars spent on prisons, I think it's not being effectively spent. I don't think it is. The money is going to the right aspects of it.
The other thing I thought of too is,
I mean, if you think of a prison guard's salary, He's not getting paid enough. We're paying billions of dollars, and he's barely making
Ends meet.
$30,000-$40,000 a year. That's not effectively spent money.
So another thing I was thinking about as I read this question and pondered it. So real as just like a broad, if it's effective, you think you hear all these stories about how like you see it on TV too when they do these documentaries, right?
Yeah.
So like the prison system for like hardened criminals, or even maybe not necessarily hardened, but it's like a totally different world in there where there's still gangs in the prison system. There's drugs that go on in there. There's murders that go on in there. So that's really where I would say, no, it is not effective, because they're just transitioning them from like the everyday society doing all that shit to just doing it again and just doing it in the prisons. So,
but at least it's happening in there, and innocent people aren't getting hurt.
But that just...
And a lot of those murders are, yes, gang-related, but also killing child pedophiles.
So it's not a matter of whether it's happening in there or out in the public. It's prison's not effective if that stuff is still happening.
Yeah. Criminals
inside the prison system.
Yeah.
So that's where I would say, just in that way of thinking, no, it's not effective.
Yeah.
Because it's not changing anything other than the location and where it's happening. So I don't know. Yeah.
So I think that once again, that was an absolutely great question. We appreciate it. If you want to submit your questions, submit the questions in the comments below on the videos, or go to the Proof is in the Whiskey Facebook page. The proof is in the whiskey. Moving on to our next question.
So this one's going to be really quick because I have no fucking clue, because I have not paid attention.
Okay.
Would you vote for Liz Cheney for president? I don't fucking know, because I have I don't know anything about her. I didn't follow any of the shit that was going on this past year with her. I know that she was in the media quite a bit, right? Earlier in the year.
Yep. So I looked into a little bit of it, looked at some of the policies that she has. I think the biggest thing that I disagree with her is that she kind of just jumped into condoning the January 6th and calling Trump, former president of the United States, evil, and saying that he did that, even though it's just been litigation after litigation, him getting sued here, him getting sued there. But her pushing that so hard just to get the vote, not necessarily even that she believes or whatever. I don't personally know, obviously, but her being like, oh, this is what people, I might pick up some Democrat votes if I do this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's fucked up. And she's really a Democrat saying that she's a Republican. So there's a lot of things that I disagree with her policies on. I disagree that her father, Dick Cheney, shot somebody in the face in a hunting accident. Don't
give her a gun.
Yeah. So long story short, fuck no, I wouldn't vote for her. I would cast that vote for somebody for the values and policies that I would actually believe in, and the character. Because what they say is, would you, a president, somebody that you would, vote for, that you would, sit down and have a beer with, right? You've heard that statement before, right? And I feel like I would sit down with Liz Cheney and she would say something incredibly cuntish, and I would just be like, you're a stupid garbage fake person, and I can't listen to you anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Go back to your home on Whore Island.
Yeah, it'd be
You're
like
a
having
dirty pirate hooker.
It's like listening to AOC for, I don't know, 2 seconds.
You're a woman with a small brain.
I didn't say because she's a woman. I said because of her policies.
I was just going on Ron
but
Burgundy quotes.
the fact that she is a woman.
You have a small brain. Well, that escalated quickly.
Yeah, right. Like, oh, no. The Proofs of the Whiskey podcast is sexist.
Yeah, a bunch of fascist, sexist pigs. They're racist too, even though they've never even brought it up.
Oh my God.
They're Republican. They must be.
Yeah, we're horrible racists.
And we're terrorists.
Yeah, terrorist, racist. What else?
Bigot,
transphobic.
Yeah,
we're just horrible people.
Horrible people. Yeah. So I'll leave the number 6 for the end, I guess, just to break the
Okay.
ice there, or not to break the ice.
Well,
but-
no. I like number 6. Let's just get it
Yeah.
out because we're talking about policies and who we vote for.
So this is the big one for me.
Yep.
Okay. This was
Right.
the question that stood out the most. Would you support a flat tax?
So, doing a whole bunch of research, and or do you want to go first?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So, and I think from the videos that I sent you, you kind of know where I'm going with this. And it's a very hard question, but there's, I believe, a lot more benefits than there would be. And this is why I say more benefits.
So you're talking pros and cons. You think there's more pros than cons?
I think there's more pros. So the current tax bill, I forget exactly how many pages, but it's 1 million words, thousands of pages. I
lot
think
of
it's
words.
70,000 pages.
I'm a picture book
of,
kind of guy.
and in those 70,000 pages, there's loopholes, there's jargon there that can be manipulated, and that's why we have so many places that can take advantage of it. If you want to be the screaming leftist saying that corporations aren't paying their fair share in taxes, well, I highly disagree with that, and I do believe so. Amazon, for a perfect example in this situation, there is tax exemptions and stuff that they get because they invested $2.7 billion into research and development, and they get a credit for doing that. That research and development is, the drones fucking delivering shit. They're all electric fleet of vehicles that they're trying to produce. The self-driving aspect of it to reduce fatalities and accidents. Your next day shipping, the different plants are all across the United States. They have their own pharmacy. They have Whole Foods. They have all those things that are super vital, especially through the pandemic. So you're saying a big-ass fucking company like that has done way more good. Now, I still think Bezos is probably a little funny, but that's a different topic.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is the company itself has spent all of this money to do that, right? Now they're also paying all the workers. All those workers are also paying tax. Those customers are buying things and paying sales tax on the goods that they're buying. So for them to spend all this money, hire all these employees, and do all these things that they get to write off their research and development. There's also the trees. So they have to look at where they're building these plants and stuff like that in the factories and putting in trees. So you get a credit for fucking having a tree on your land. So if you have 10, 15 trees, hey, thank you for not cutting down and destroying the world, because apparently every leftist is worried about global fucking warming. So there's a handful of things that are going right off of that. So simplified tax, flat tax, or if you still instill maybe a scale that goes up into it, I still think is maybe a little bit there, but I support a simplified tax. And if that's a flat tax or, once again, income-based tax. So once again, you make the president's salary $499,000 a year, you should pay exactly X in taxes versus the person who's paying this. So yes, maybe a little bit more tax on the extreme personable wealthy, and that would be their capital gains, that would be their investments, that would be that you pay the same amount of tax. No loopholes, no divergence of funds to go ahead and do this, not just because you're going to be Mark Cuban and buy a fucking jet that or was it Mark Cuban that bought the jet? Who was it? No,
I think they all have jets.
Yeah. Anyways, who bought
rich.
jets? Oh, there's a different guy. Anyways, buy a $100 million, $200 million jet to avoid taxes. It's like, no. You're writing it off as a business expense, and now the company has lost money.
Yeah.
And now you don't have to pay taxes. I disagree with those aspects of it. But the greedy politicians put those in place to only benefit themselves. That's why there's a different set of rules.
They
for
benefit
the
because they're hoping, obviously, they're
lobbyists.
the lobbyists. Exactly.
Lobbyists.
Right.
Here, let me rephrase that. The lobbyists. greased the palms of all the politicians to pass
Absolutely.
that so they can do that. That's why there's a different set of
Endorsements and all that
rules
stuff. So
for them. But if there was a flat and you can argue the rate of which it's taxed, but I think both of us are taxed at 22 to 24%, and there's a lot of folks out there that are taxed at less. So the more money that you make, the more the government takes from you, and I disagree with that in that aspect because I'm not writing off my expenses. Yes, I get to write off the little bit of interest that the bank is collecting from my mortgage. That's great. But once again, once you start saying, okay, well, you can write off this, and you can write off that, and then you can write. It's such a stair stepping. I don't agree that you can just pick and choose of what you can and what you can't. Hey, you make this much money, you pay this amount in tax. All said and done, you can grab a fucking card of a piece of piece of paper. I made this amount of money this year. I pay this in taxes. File taxes. Taxes go off. Done.
yeah.
Simple. If you have children, cool. Tax credit for the children because you have to spend more money on them.
Right.
That's fair. I'm cool with that. But a flat tax, I think, makes more sense than our current tax system that we have.
What do you think as far as a flat tax and the idea that some people would have as far as a con, having a flat tax being more of a burden on poor families?
How?
I'm asking you.
Are you saying
So
that you
I
agree
watched.
that it's
So
a burden?
I've watched
or?
a couple videos where they say when they're going through the pros and cons that it'd be more of a burden for low income families.
I disagree with that. If it's 20 cents on the dollar, if it's okay, so imagine a big old fucking pie, right? Mm-hmm. The government's getting their 20 whatever percent, right? So in our case, 22% of our pie, they're getting that percentage. Now, if that pie is $10,000 or $20,000 a year, I think what it was, where it's only 10%, they're getting 10% of that pie.
The lowest income bracket right now is 10%.
That's correct. So they're getting 10% of that pie. Okay, so if you increase from 10 to 20%, that amount of money that they spent, it's 10 cents versus 20 cents of the dollar. Is it really hurting somebody paying
Right.
10?
Well, what if
more
we
cents?
kept it at 10% and then just people like us pay 10%? What if everybody just pays 10%?
I would be okay with that too.
And then they would say, "Well, I'm paying more, well, more than you are in tax money." So to simplify my opinion,
Yeah.
right? So I think my opinion is very simple. It is not my fault, and why should I be penalized in paying more tax money or more money in taxes just because I earned more money?
And I think that's a great classification that you're making there is earned.
Earned.
You
emphasize on the earned.
That money.
I put in the hours. I put in the work.
Right.
And
now the government comes up and goes, "Hey, motherfucker."
Hey, do I feel bad?
Give me your money.
Do I feel for low-income families that are struggling every day? Sure, I do.
Yeah.
But I shouldn't have to pay. So if I make $20,000 in a month, and again, these aren't accurate numbers, so I'm just saying hypothetically.
I'm
because
following.
if I make $20,000 in 1 month,
Mm-hmm.
and 8,000 of that gets taken away from me, how is that fair?
Yeah.
How is that right?
That's not right.
It's
ridiculous.
And then you get your tax return, but they only give a small portion of that back and keep the rest. That was my fucking hard-earned money.
Well, and I'm going to go right to that because you say you get your tax return. Why are you getting a return if you spent that money and they say, "Oh no, you gave us too much money. Here's some money back."
Just take what you need.
Just take right then and there.
Why are you taking more than what you need?
I'm fucking done.
Why are you taking more than what you need up front and then giving it back to me?
Yeah.
Take only what you need.
Yep.
And then I don't need a tax return at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Because that's not even
because I would have more money in my pocket.
Well, and it's to me, it's like almost like it's like a fucking it's a mind trick. People are like, "Oh, I can't wait for my tax returns." you're not even getting all your money back.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's your money.
And
you earned it in the first place, and you're getting your own money back.
Right.
And we're celebrating.
And I understand, like, we pay taxes because where else are they going to get the money to fund like infrastructure and federal programs or whatever? Right. But it doesn't. Why does it need to be so fucking much? Maybe if we didn't send so much to everyone else and invested in our own fucking country, we wouldn't have to worry about the taxes being so goddamn high.
Yeah, if we weren't sending money all over the place, if we weren't
the $16.2 fucking billion that we sent to Ukraine on a war that has nothing to do with us, other than I know we get a lot of resources from Ukraine, but they're
not a part of NATO, so we should give absolutely two shits and a fuck about them. Okay, it shouldn't matter. Yes. Is it terrible that there's a war going on there, that they're getting invaded? There's fucking wars all the time. People are getting invaded all the time.
So I thought about this.
So
and this
what
is
about
what was pissing me off?
The wars in Africa? What about the tribal wars there? What about the
that's where I get really
on
irritated.
the national stage, nobody gives a fuck about it. So why are we importing or why are we highlighting Ukraine war? Because it's Russia, a giant superpower. Because
Biden has so much ties to Ukraine.
Biden has ties to Ukraine. It's like, what the fuck?
And we don't. And
it would have been resolved in I think it was January, but it's still going on.
So and it's not even Ukraine that we spent six. So the other day they approved another 1.1 billion last week, right?
Jesus.
He signed another 1.1 billion to go over. That makes a total since February is when the attacks happened. So since whenever we first gave them money, $16.2 billion in taxpayer fucking money to Ukraine. And that's not even, so that's just tip of the iceberg, because how much money do we give to other countries or all over the world?
All the money that we paid into
we
NATO.
give money to. And so on the way here, I was getting pissed because I'm thinking about how we give all this fucking billions and billions and billions, only adding to the deficit that we're already in the trillions, when there's so much in our own fucking country that they say the pandemic, crippled our economy. A lot of people will say, how about we fix our own shit first, right? And then whatever we have left over, then if we want to be humanitarians and help out other places in the world, awesome. Because we're supposed to be a superpower.
Yeah, we're supposed to be.
And we got
to borrow the money from somewhere else to give to us.
In some respect, yes, we have to think globally as well, right?
Right.
Because but one thing that stood out to me on the way here when I was thinking about this, I'm like, they always talk about, one thing that you hear about is the war on hunger. The fight against hunger.
I was getting ready to say starving children.
The fight against hunger.
It's
2022.
Yeah.
Why, if we are spending $6.2 billion, if we have sent $16.2 billion to Ukraine, why the fuck is that even still a topic?
Yeah. Why do we still have
hunger in America?
Really?
Something so...
Did you see what Biden said, though? That he's hoping to, whatever plan and shit that he has, hoping to end American hunger by like 2030.
How's that going to happen when you're spending so much money in other fucking places?
We're going to borrow it from
Do you know how much hunger you could solve with $16.2 billion in your own fucking land? Do you know how much? You know how many mouths you could feed?
A fucking lot.
There's what is it, like 350 million some odd people in the country? Yeah. $16.2 billion would end a lot of fucking hunger.
Yeah.
But no, you want to fucking go send it off to some other foreign land instead of helping our own country out. Can you tell I'm a little fucking pissed about how much tax dollars are going other than our own country? It's fucking insane.
100%.
We have homelessness. We have families that are being crushed by the economy, unemployment, inflation. But no, we want to keep sending it somewhere else rather than fixing our own shit first. I mean, how does $16.2 billion to Ukraine help us?
It doesn't whatsoever. But that 16-something billion dollars could stop the brownouts in California, could help all the people that were just affected by the hurricane, could help, just like you said, stop hunger, could help pay people to work at prisons to help more reform, help more education. We talk about how these inner city schools don't have the funding. The teachers don't
Everything
have
they
the
talk
funding.
about, that's an issue.
Oh, we don't have the funding. We don't have the funding.
Bullshit.
But we can send $1 billion fucking
Bullshit.
dollars.
16.2.
$16.2 billion to another country. Also supply them weaponry. Also supply Afghanistan the weaponry. We can just afford to lose all these things, but we can't afford
And
the infrastructure to support electric vehicles, the research and development on that aspect, paying teachers. I mean, all of this, and just like you said in last week's episode, you're just like, the media only wants to highlight what they want to highlight at that given time and hoping that you forget about that, showing you the worst parts right then and there so you forget about that shit. And I feel like just listening just moments ago to Senator Ted Cruz talking about how in the fuck is a voter ID racist? Is we're focused on that. Everybody, that was the forefront, was, oh, the voter ID is fucking racist. Once again, people still dying, people still starving, brownouts, blackouts, all these things are still happening.
Look at
More people freeze to death, and then
You
we're
have-
worried about
you have-
heat, AC. Dude,
You have cities that are fucking falling. A couple years ago, very recent,
yeah.
Detroit, they
Well,
had a
still.
huge issue with water.
Yeah, Flint.
Right?
Well, no, it was Flint. It was Flint.
Was it Flint?
Yep.
So
They had to replace
Huge-
all the piping. Because
huge
the piping
issue with
is
water,
rusted.
and just so not only just that, but I'm talking like big city like Chicago, like anywhere that
Well,
has
Lightfoot
fucking
is
like
needed.
ghettos, rundown areas of the city,
Yeah.
and you know, how are we gonna fix this? Blah blah. Invest in that shit.
Right. Take
Bef-
$1 billion here and fix this
grow
real
our
problem.
country back to the way it should be.
Pay police
if
officers
we
more,
can,
more
and
training.
I keep harping on Ukraine because that's the most relevant right now. But
Yeah.
there has been so many other places throughout the decades that we have sent so much money to. Iran was the millions overnight fucking cash that, you know,
Yeah.
under the Obama administration,
Yep.
that we have just blown that money away. And for what? We have so what, the bigger global impact, like get down to the nitty gritty of
Yeah.
the Americans
You talk about
that
systemic issues.
the hardworking people of the country that are suffering, that you know, they're suffering with no help or limited help.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we brought them up and got them back to work, our country would be in a much better spot.
100%, dude.
But instead, let's send billions upon billions upon billions
To
of dollars.
here, let's keep
to
spending
everywhere
millions and
else.
billions of dollars to NATO. Let's keep
Now,
doing this.
and I'm not saying that we don't invest in our own country at all, but I'm saying before we spend
Not
a
enough.
fucking penny
Absolutely.
anywhere else, let's make sure our own shit is right.
Yeah. 100%, dude. And just like you said.
And I'm sorry if I was yelling a lot on this, but that shit, it's just it is infuriating to me
I'm sure it's infuriating to most people.
to how much
fucking
money
pissed off
we
about
spend
it.
on that.
Like it's fucking ridiculous that we bust our ass at work. Many people working 2 jobs just to afford to pay for their own means, their children, their car payment, their car insurance, which I think is a scam, but that's another story. Insurance should have a refund, just like your tax refund. Like, hey, you didn't use all of this. Here's your money back. But anyways, all of these things people literally bust in their ass to do, and then we just be like, oh, there's somebody else who needs help. Here's this. I need help. If you want to be fucking virtuous and you want to help, you're American people.
You need help. But no, listen, it's America, so you need help. Just you need to work more, work harder. If you need to get a second job, then that's so be it.
Yeah.
You know that's how you're gonna. But if you make more, hey man, we're gonna take
we
more
d-
away from you. Though.
We need another 1-2%.
Yeah,
Greatly
so-
appreciate you there.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, if you're when with taxes, if you're gonna, so again, I'll use the scenario, like say I make, you know what, I'll just say it. Last year, my best month last year was I made $17,500 in 1 month, which that was mind-boggling to me. I was like, how the hell did I just do this? I was so happy and proud of myself because I am the financial supporter of our family.
Mhm.
You know, again, my wife is a stay-at-home mom, so I am the financial supporter. So when I have a month like that, I'm pumped. I'm ecstatic. So they took $7,000 of my hard-earned money away.
Yeah.
Now I get taxes, right? We need them to pay for certain things, infrastructure, whatever, everything else. Why does it need to be that much when we have 350 million people in the country? Why do they need to take $7,000 of my hard-earned money away from me?
Mm-hmm.
But if I only make like $5,000 in a month, they take like what, 1,500?
Yeah.
So I guess that's where you would say the flat tax would be very beneficial.
Yeah.
So I agree with the flat tax in the way that it would definitely get rid of loopholes so that the super wealthy, or really whoever, doesn't get to take advantage in a negative way.
Right. And I think that's where the biggest and most important thing that I think extreme leftists, moderates, and Republicans can all agree on. It needs to be simple, one fucking paragraph, not even a paragraph. One, here it is, one page. Everybody gets taxed at this amount.
Yeah.
Businesses get taxed at this amount. If you have children, you can write that off. Or you get a credit because you had to pay for them and they're not contributing members of society.
The tax policy should be simple enough for the average American to be able to understand it.
Right. Because
not.
I tried to do some research on this, and once again, everybody out there, I literally tried to do everything that I can to look at both sides of every bit of this argument for the flat tax. I think there was about 15 plus liberal videos, Democrat supporting videos saying, no, we need to tax more, we need to tax more, we need to tax more. The ultra wealthy aren't paying their fair share. Once again, just like you just pointed out, you made X number of dollars and they took more money from you. Their pie for a millionaire making $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million, $5 million a year, and they're paying $6, $7, $8, $9, $10, $1 million in taxes themselves. That's a bigger fucking piece of the pie. They're still paying their share. They're still paying taxes.
And if you're a multi-millionaire, billionaire, whatever, good for you.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
If you earned that the right way, if you invested your life into creating something that produced that much money, good for you. That's the beauty of America. We can be capitalists. Yeah. So I have to be penalized in paying more. So I watched the video I watched and they were saying, it'd be a burden on lower income families. How? If you keep it, so let's just hypothetically say they were like, you know what, flat tax, everybody pays 10%.
Mm-hmm.
So would the people in low income that pay 10% already and still would pay 10%, but then I all of a sudden, because I make the money I do, have to pay 10%, that all of a sudden now I'm not paying my fair share? No, it's 10% is 10%.
That's the fair
it's
share.
not my fault that you don't make as much money as I do. I made the decision to get into the field that I did.
Money.
I chose to get into the career I did that has proven to be lucrative because I'm kind of good at it, but my point is, like, if you're good at something and you get paid what you do, well, why is that a bad thing? Why is that looked at if there's a flat tax of, like, again, say 10% and I'm not paying as much as I was in taxes, how is that not fair? How is that unfair?
Right. And once again, I completely agree but with the extreme leftist socialist ideology is, well, you made all that money, so you should pay. You should help out the little guy. When you have capitalism it's a fair exchange of goods. Yeah. That is capitalism. We agreed. You're getting something, I'm getting something.
If I want to help out the little guy, it should be my decision.
It should be your decision. There should be, and once again, if you want to be charitable, be fucking charitable.
Right.
No one's talking about, who's the richest guy in the world? I think it's like Elon Musk, Bill, Jeff Bezos, right? They have literally enough money to make differences and changes and be extremely charitable. I think it was damn.
But if they don't want to be, that's on them.
Yeah, and exactly, it's like you're not calling fucking Bill Gates evil. Well, he does a whole bunch for charity, but he's still making a shit ton of fucking money. He's still with research and development and everything like that, not paying fucking taxes. But this is also where I can follow the other side of disagreements. And if you want to be on the side of socialism and everything like that, General Motors, the company that owns, or the brand that we sell, owns the brand that we sell, they had a government bailout.
More than once.
So, and they paid last year or whatever, paid $0 in taxes because of their government bailout. So because they spent money on research and development, the EV cars, trying to do all those things, they're doing good. But once again, if they filed bankruptcy and they were failing, they should fail. They should be off the fucking map.
So even though
we should be going on to something bigger and better with capitalism, but your socialist fucking overarching government agenda provided that bailout for that company, and they're paying $0 in taxes, but you're mad at Walmart because they didn't pay any. Yeah. I'm using income taxes and corporate tax in the same margin, even though they are different. So I will clarify that. But they didn't pay. Walmart didn't pay any taxes, but they also employ millions of people, and all those people pay taxes. They pay 20% tax, and the money that they pay them, they're paying 20% on. So the government's really getting 40% of all the income taxed that's going to the American people, back into the economy. If you can tell, I was kind of passionate about this one. This one really irritated me.
Well, I think about 10 minutes ago, you saw how passionate I can get to.
Like the flat tax, I just truly think is logical.
I just don't.
I think it again, makes the most
simplify
sense.
To simplify it, I've waited.
If somebody came up to me and gave me a graph of how this is not the current 70,000 pages, but a graph of you make X, this is what you pay. You make X, and it's all fair and it makes sense. Okay, I can see how that makes sense, but not all the loopholes, not all this, not all that. You pay this, we're done.
To simplify it again.
And corporations, I think, are different.
I'm about to be 39. I've waited a very long time, and I've been through a lot of shitty paying jobs to get to where I am now, where I can at least comfortably pay my bills,
right,
and have a little left over to have fun with my family, go on vacations. I've waited a long time to be in a position that I'm in.
Right.
And now I have to pay more in taxes because of it.
Yeah.
So I've waited a long time to be excited about
the government was very happy that they got a raise.
The potential, exactly. I've waited a long time to be in a position to have the potential to make that kind of money to provide well for my family.
Yeah.
And just to be able to go, hey, man, look at my before taxes. Oh, shit. I'm going to get raped by the government.
Yep. Uncle Sam always gets his.
So my thought process now when I see those commission sheets is not, oh, awesome. It's my immediate thought is, shit, how much am I going to get taken away from me?
Yeah, how much money am I losing?
That's fucked up to me.
And once again, so same thing, right? So regardless of the job that you have, regardless of that, right? You take a look at, gross pay to net pay, right? And if you had a simplified flat tax rate, it wouldn't be, okay, my gross pay is this, but I only net X. You would know that fucking number because it would be the exact percentage every single fucking time. But you see a number and you go, okay, so I'm probably going to make, I shouldn't have to probably know how much money I've earned. because I already know how much money I've earned. There's the gross pay. I've earned that much money, but I have to guesstimate how much money I'm actually going to receive.
And I listened to an argument on a video that I watched on if the flat tax were to happen, it'd be less money going towards certain things like infrastructure and things like that. Well, no,
Incorrect.
it'd be more like, how about if that were to happen, that would just hold those people that decide on or plan and execute the infrastructure and things like that.
Right.
So when they determine costs and things like that, oh wow, God forbid you got to revamp that system and how you price things out or where you distribute certain things, or maybe we should, what else? So how about if we had a flat tax? Oh wow, how about invest more of that money then in our own country instead of giving it away to other countries? Maybe that it would reduce that, because you would need to keep more of that for our own country.
We couldn't provide for our own. Okay, well, you're not providing for our own right now. You're sending $16.2 billion to another country. So if there was a flat tax, you made a little bit less money, and it really comes out to the income-wise, regardless of your tax bracket, whatever you're currently at, it comes out to about 20% on average.
Yeah.
And this has been years and years and years and years with multiple tax laws and rewrites and stuff like that. Comes out to 20%. And if you don't believe me on that, I will provide a reference in this video that you're watching right now. That is a fact. So even though that some people, the millionaire plus, are paying 30 or 37% in taxes, it really only accumulates to about 20% that's really going to it because of all the other loopholes and everything that's going there. So if there was a flat tax at 17 to 20%, 20 cents on the dollar for a millionaire, there's a much bigger pie that they're receiving in that aspect than your 20 cents on the dollar for your $30,000 job a year job. So I mean, it depends on the pie that you're receiving out of it. Does that make sense?
It does, man. I hear you. I'm exhausted.
All right.
So think we should wrap it up.
So both of our opinions here come down to we support either a flat tax or a simplified tax.
I say at least a simplified tax.
I agree with a flat tax.
Simplified.
Yeah.
Simplified. I mean, flat tax, as long as it wouldn't, because I would hate to, if the argument were true as far as putting more of a burden on low income families, I don't want to do that. So if that were,
that other video that I sent you was that you had to make X number of dollars before you even started to get taxed.
And I'd be cool with that.
I think I'd be cool with that.
You know what? If you only make $20,000 a year, don't pay taxes.
Yeah.
Sales tax, sure, but don't. I mean, $20,000 a year and you got to pay taxes. You're not getting left with much. So I guess fundamentally.
But once again, if it was
20%,
20% of $20,000 is still not a lot of money that you're paying.
No,
in taxes. I don't feel like that's
$20,000 doesn't get you far.
Doesn't get you far
at all.
You're hurting it regardless.
You're lucky if you're living in a home.
I'm just saying.
So if you're, I mean, I would totally be on board with that. You know what? Yeah. If somebody was making $20,000 or less and they said, you know what, you no longer have to pay taxes, but then I still did because I make $100,000 a year, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Because you know what? I would hate to make only $20,000 a year and be struggling every single day of my life. I feel bad for those people. Now,
but the people that are making $20,000 a year also are those people that are making that amount of money shouldn't be relying on government, though. They shouldn't be receiving food stamps unless it's for true disability.
And that's it. If they're capable,
I think. Okay, here let me rephrase that.
If they're just as capable of you or I in making a good living, but they're choosing to not, then that's on them. But if you are not capable of being in a type of job or functioning, if you have your issues or whatever, and you're in a part-time job because that's all you can handle, whatever. And again, this is just a hypothetical situation, and you only make $20,000 a year, then I get, and give them a break. But
So like I said, let me clarify here. I'm going to take the food stamp, EBT card out of that statement there. That's not what I meant to say.
because the single mom with 4 kids deserves
Right,
that.
and that's why I said. So I take that back. That's not what I meant. So don't blow me up. Don't cancel me. That's not what I meant. What I'm saying is that just like you said, I agree.
People that are taking advantage of it,
Taking advantage of the system
manipulating.
should, you know what I'm saying? You shouldn't just solely be like, okay, I'm going to make exactly $20,000 so I don't have to pay any taxes. I'm going to now file for unemployment and I'm going to get this money and I'm going to go get my EBT card that's going to give me $300 a week for food or a month for food, so I don't have to pay any food, and I'm just going to pile. No, that's taking advantage of it, and I don't think that should be right. But they're obviously, like I said, EBT, food stamps, welfare, stuff like that. That's a completely separate topic from what we're talking about. So I merged the two by mistake.
I get you.
So that has been some fantastic questions. Fantastic thing. I
Got me
definitely
fucking
think,
ramped up, dude.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people will agree with that. So if you are a listener right now and you go, fuck, that shit made a lot of sense. Oh, yeah, well, that's a good point. I am no longer a leftist scum. Go ahead and put it in the... go ahead and put it in the comments, put it in the notes, download this, share this, do everything that you possibly can. Let's continue growing this. Yeah, we're still a low-level nobody podcast, but one person sharing it to 10 friends and those 10 friends sharing it to another 10 friends can absolutely change that overnight. And if you think that more people need to think or hear this, be that person and share that, okay? We have one last question. That's right. I was getting there. I was getting there.
It's just a fun, silly one.
We have one last question, and I think this is probably one of my favorite questions and something that I'm ready to argue to the death.
So, who would win in a cage match? This is why it's silly. Who would win in a cage match? Ron DeSantis or Ted Cruz?
What is your guy? I want you to go first.
Ted Cruz.
That's your go-to, Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's also who I picked, and I think you flip-flopped on me. So
No. You said Ron DeSantis earlier this week.
No, I think you flip-flopped on me.
We were at work, and you said Ron DeSantis. I said, no, Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz was my pick from the get-go.
I feel like you
Fuck
flip-flopped
you.
on me. All right. Okay. So I will say Ted Cruz then,
Thank you.
just for this argument. But the only reason why I was even considering Ted Cruz, and I'll let you make your argument, but I just want to say this, is I think Ted Cruz would win if he got him like in the first 30, 45 seconds. Just like
he's older.
Yeah, exactly. Just like me or you would. Like get a hold of somebody like I'm going to win and I don't care what I'm going to do to
I said that about the kid we work with, D.
Yeah.
We were talking about that. I was like, man, he's like, I don't know who said it, but they're like, who do you think would win in a fight? I'm like, if I got him in the first 20, 30 seconds and took him right out,
yeah, you would win.
Anything after that, I'd be out of breath and fucking on the ground because I
would just be
don't have the
stamina.
stamina.
The shit
He's only friggin' 20, so. But
yeah,
Ted Cruz all the way, man. Ted Cruz, when you watch him, he's like that. He's like that. He's got that grit.
He
like him or not, love him or hate him. He's got that tenacity and that grit when people are talking or when he's if you've ever seen him at a hearing or anything, he's very up front. He doesn't hold anything back. He's to the point. He's very brutal in a sense. So I say Ted Cruz.
All right, so DeSantis for age wise, and as long as he can escape that, and I think he's got just enough spring in his step to do it. With DeSantis, I feel like he has got probably a little bit more fighting skills growing up.
I think Ted Cruz would rip his throat out real quick.
I think DeSantis would fucking beat the shit out of him.
So you're saying DeSantis, not Ted Cruz? You just flip-flopped on yourself.
No, because I said for the argument I was going to take DeSantis. Just for the argument. But
oh my God.
And then I said Ted Cruz would win in that first 30, 45 seconds. DeSantis, I think, has got a little bit more pep in his step. We'll be able to evade.
Evade.
Get out of the way real quick. Ted, he's a little heftier of a guy, but that cushion can definitely help for DeSantis's punches because he's just going to be throwing punches. So I'm okay. So I'm a little bit torn. I don't think I flip flopped. I think you did. I think you said
you're
DeSantis.
wrong. I did not say DeSantis. I'm telling you,
I have a
100%. I
don't know
from the get go when we read these questions the beginning of last week or the middle of last week.
I should have put it in my notes app.
I literally said Ted Cruz from the get go. No doubt about it.
All right. So, to recap on this episode, we went through all of the questions that one of our fantastic viewers, your sister, submitted for us. If you would like to submit some questions, feel free to do so in this video here, in this podcast questionnaire here, or on our Facebook page.
And I also want to point out one thing.
Yeah.
So for people that are either whatever they watch, listen. For me personally, when you hear some of the things that I touched that I talked about throughout the podcast, especially when it comes to anything economic, I am not an economist. I have not studied economics, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So these are my to the core, as the average American taxpayer, thoughts. So, if you listen and you're like, he has no idea what he's talking about, maybe I don't. But this is how I feel as it directly impacts me.
Yeah. So the Proof is in the Whiskey is a opinion-based podcast. We do some research on the topics that we want to talk about, get us fired up and fueled up, which is the same thing that you amazing viewers are, our American listeners. So we want to be right there with you. We want to continue conversations. Okay. That's the biggest thing. And just like you said, and I agree, it's like, there's some things that I probably, got my stats mixed up or whatever. But I mean, if you're sitting with your buddy in a garage smoking cigars, drinking some bourbon, you might mix up a couple little things here and there. But the point remains, the true heart of what we're talking about really stands out. So I really appreciate what you said there, and I think that's right there. Just like I said with my previous comment, it's like, whoa, hold on, that's not what I meant to say. So let me clarify. But all right. Absolutely fantastic podcast, man.
Loved it.
I'm Chris.
This is Eric.
This is The Proof is in the Whiskey, episode 7.